Careful. Play those 5 notes and you might be asking for a copyright strike. Hi, this is Gene Petty. Today we're going to be talking about notions derived from copyright infringement. These 5 notes, with one of them repeated 3 times, legendary notes to some. They begin Johnny Winter's It's My Own Fault from the epic album Johnny Winter and Live. You play these 5 notes and there may be cause to give you a copyright strike. Now, if I were monetized with thousands of hours of viewing, I might have to worry about playing these 5 notes in that order. I get the feeling if I were making a huge sum of money from my videos that some jerk would come along and flag me claiming that I should have a copyright infringement for playing Johnny Winter's notes at some point in my blues demonstrations. Sure, you tell me it's okay if you're teaching it. It's in the Fair Use Act. The way I see it, it doesn't matter how much copyright law you know. At some point, any judge on a bad day can determine that you copied something even if you didn't play it the same way. People like to rave about how as long as you don't copy more than 10 notes in the melody, as long as you don't copy 7 notes, as long as you don't copy 3 notes. And my favorite one is, you can't copyright a chord progression. They don't know, and most likely you don't know. Have you ever read the copyright laws? I've heard they don't even help. The main reason I raise this question centers around the question, can you copyright a blues lick? Usually by definition a lick or riff is a kind of cliché. I can't imagine that someone could grab an old cliché and say that they own the copyright to it. So today we're going to extract from the tune Whipping Post. And we're going to see how far we can stretch it, compact it, and put it together to make it so that it's not a copyright infringement. We're going to look at the Fillmore East recording at Whipping Post in 1971. The first 2 notes, A and G. If I play similar combinations of A and G, will I get a copyright strike? Here's some examples. Here's the original. And here's what it sounds like when you throw in a couple extra notes here and there. Now here's basically the same notes done at an ultra rapid tempo. And here we have an ultra slow tempo. It's obvious that even though we're playing the same notes, we're not playing the same groove, and we're not stating the music in the same way. Here's one where we're going to throw a rest in the middle of everything. Now, what about the chord progression? Here's the standard progression, the way you know it. And here's a progression using the same kind of chords that the Doors did in Riders on the Storm. And now version that sounds a bit like Miles Davis. And here's some kind of other strumming version, and it's the same kind of chords, but throwing a different kind of groove in there. What about 5/4? What if I slow the tempo down so that it's almost unlike it at all? What about speeding it up? I imagine the groove of the piece is the giveaway. If you use the same notes in a totally different groove, how could anyone say that you're copying? But this is just instinctual logic and not based on fact. The question arises, why do we copy anyway? This is how music was played traditionally. Back in the day of Bach, they borrowed passages without thinking twice. We tend to copy because we like the way something sounds, and the fact that we can play it makes us all the more enthusiastic. We learn by copying. There are traditional sounds that must be passed on. The art of it all is if you can get the sound or the groove without copying the notes themselves. This means that there are two ways to go. You can take familiar notes from tunes and put them in a different light. Or, on the other hand, you can take a groove and imitate it with completely different notes. What A and G make is an interval of a major second. Now, can we do it with a minor second or a different interval, a minor third? That would be interesting. It might be a little too close to the groove, and it might be considered copying. So let's find a similar kind of groove with different notes. Now we're going to find another type of minor progression, but we're not going to use the same chords. Okay, here's one way to do it. We're going to take whip and post and play it in 5/4 time. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Four, five, 1, 2, 3, 4. Four, five, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now we could do the other way around and not really play the same chords and not really play the same riff, and we'll try it in the 6/8 time or the 12/8 figure that they use. So we've learned that there are two basic ways to copy. One is with the same notes and different rhythms. The other way is to copy the groove with different notes and chords. There are other details involved such as inflection, tension, release, volume, and lyrics. With the blues licks, you need to ask yourself, have I ever heard this one before? Then you need to research. If there have been many uses and repetitions of the lick, then you have some ground to stand on. If you never heard anyone else do it, then you stand on thin ice. I have not heard anyone else play those 5 notes that Johnny Winter played on his live album. But then again, on his album The Progressive Blues Experiment, he plays It's My Own Fault, and it sounds nothing at all like the live version. The licks are completely different, not to mention the whole groove. But I heard that you are allowed each version to be copyrighted as your own. But as far as those 5 notes are concerned, I'd be interested if anyone else has heard them in that order, around that tempo. Until then, it looks like we're going to have to play variations on those notes if we don't want to strike against us. Well, I hope you learned something about copying and copywriting. Let me hear about it in the comments below. Take care. This is Gene Petty.
Thank you.